For this 100 days adventure, I set on a journey to become a master archer in modded hardcore Minecraft. I will try to make a master's bow, build a crazy mansion, fill a vault with treasures, and most importantly, stay alive. Because if I die, that's it. So grab a snack, sit back, and enjoy this adventure. An MX Rocks Network production. Server down below. This 100 days adventure started out like any other. Yup, you guessed it, punching a tree. Our first goal off the bat was to get iron tools as fast as possible, and to do so, we started with wood. With these tools, we were able to get stone so that we could get the iron upgrade as soon as possible. But before I was going to do that, I needed food. My friend Gorge had a brilliant idea, and that was to shear the sheep so that we could make beds out of it, so that we could pass over this night easily. I made my crafting table, and I made my oven, and we were off to a great start within day one. We got our cooked mutton out of the furnace and called that dinner. After grubbing, we said bye to our friend Sheep, spotted the first mobs, then sorted up for our first mob encounter. While fighting this zombie, I didn't realize that Gorge had already made me an iron sword, so I picked that up and I was way ahead of the game here at day one. After taking care of that zombie, we then saw a skeleton look at us a little bit funny, so we took care of that and then called it a night. This video wouldn't be possible without our server and community it is built. I can promise you, this is a server you've never seen before. Our Minecraft GTA pushes the limits on Minecraft PvP to the max, with gang wars, auto bounties, boss raids, and custom mobs. And oh yeah, every weapon you can imagine, like the new railgun that'll evaporate your enemies with one shot. If guns in Minecraft isn't your cup of tea, we also have all new vanilla SMP server with a fully customized map. And don't forget about our vanilla 1 block that was featured on Welcome in TV's 1 block video. We just revamped the factions with gun server, adding a King of the Hill event every hour for your faction to come head to head with other factions. The server also offers other gun inspired minigames like 1v1s, TDM, and Battle Royale in our minigame server. This server has been over 6 years in the making and is a Minecraft PvP experience that is truly one of a kind. You guys have to check it out. The server Discord and IP will be down below. Day 2 rolled around, and this is when the iron upgrade became more of a reality. I wanted to begin day 2 with a great hunting trip. After scouring the lands for a lot of food, I ran into a no way. Just kidding. Emeralds are useless. Fight me in the comments. Back to hunting. After cleaning the entire server of all wildlife, I threw into my furnaces so we'd have food for days. Later that day, I found myself underground with Gorge where we would set up our first mine to get some real resources. After we got situated, I began mining and was rudely interrupted by these silverfish. So after clearing the way, we continued on with our mine to find the nearest cave. Although I was terrified because this would have been the first time I would have ever seen the new Minecraft caves, I was really excited to see what it would bring. We made it. We found our first cave within day 2. This was the first time I've seen these spiky things sticking up and everywhere, and I wasn't going to go near them because I didn't even know if they were going to kill me or what, so I kept my distance. After telling Gorge what I had found, he began picking up our first base so we could bring all of our stuff here and set up our base of operations. Once Gorge joined the party, we decided to set up camp so that we could start exploring this cave and seeing what it had to offer. But before we would do that, we wanted to get a little bit more iron and build shields. So I was on the iron duty while Gorge was on the building shield duty. I put the iron in the furnace, fought a spider, watched a creeper blow up, I got my shield, and we were off to the races. Then the hunt was on. And almost off. Luckily I had that shield. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of an absolute disaster. Luckily, things turn around and one zombie starts attacking the skeleton. After that apocalyptic nightmare, I began doing something I was much more comfortable with, mining iron. I needed a full set as soon as possible because I never wanted this to ever happen again. After making a full suit of iron, I found myself in a 2v1 situation against this skeleton, where I deflected a shot from one of the skeletons back at one, which was so cool. Day 3 rolled around, and Gorge gave me a diamond sword, and then we went out to hunt. I spent these Minecraft days mining and just killing mobs, and almost getting blown up by a creeper. A couple times. After I took that skelly to the deli, I had to head back to base because my health was super low and I was completely out of food. I made it back to base, and my health was way too low. I was terrified. I had to hop out of here, so I wanted to dig myself back up to the surface so we could really establish a true base. On day 6, I finally made it to the surface. I managed to get some of my health back from the nearby cows and pigs, and set up a little camp here just so I could fully heal up. After taking out that cow, I saw a villager in the distance, and I followed him back to his village. While looting my first chest from this village, I saw this thing I've never seen before, a villager arrow. So I tried shooting it at the wall to see if it looked any different, but I guess it's just like a normal arrow. So I continued on looting throughout the village. I ended up finding armor, food, a useless emerald, and a house that I was going to call my home. After finding the house I wanted, I broke a lot of the dull furniture, placed my ovens, placed my bed, and began to cook some of the food and iron ingots that I had. After cleaning out my inventory, I decided to take a walk and finish looting the rest of the villager houses because I remembered I left some food in them. After cleaning out these houses, I wanted to call it a night, but saw that Jerry was in my bed, which was really awkward, so I waited for him to get up. I went to sleep, and then we called it day 7. On day 7, I began a garden because I really wanted to get my food resources up. I had found some cabbage seeds along with some potatoes and carrots from the village, so I decided to plant those. After making some chests so I could store more items, I took my fishing rod and I felt like going on a fishing trip. I spent the rest of day 7 and all of day 8 fishing, waiting for these crops to grow. On day 9, I picked my first harvest and planted a few spare seeds for the natives. I was embarked on a journey to find a new place to hang my hat and call home. So this meant I had to clean house, literally. On this wild adventure, I started by dabbing up a few sheep and working on my backstroke. I found myself in the ice biome, said hi to a couple polar bears, and almost died from frostbite. On day 11, I found this beautiful piece of land that I really thought could be our home. So I claimed the territory, made sure there were no hostiles, and began to map out what I would call home. After taking care of some of the hostile creatures polluting my lands, I spotted a cave that needed to be investigated. I walked in cautiously, not knowing what lay beneath. I took my time, hoping not to be burdened by a mob I wouldn't be able to fend off. All good, everything checked out, there were no hostile mobs, so we were ready to begin the build of this base. After building the beginnings of my humble abode, I laid my bed down and said goodnight. I wandered a little bit away from my home finding wood and found this crazy cave terrain, deep trench thing. But I turned around and just went to get a bunch of wood because I would need a bunch for this big blasphemous base build. Nightfall came over day 12 and I had to head home with all this wood. After hunting and getting my levels up along with the resources from mobs, I decided to head to bed and I would begin building my base. While I was building this house, a brutal storm passed, and in the middle of this storm, lightning actually struck kind of nearby and I saw it in the distance, a firestar. So this kind of kept me on edge. I was a little bit spooked out, but I got back to it. After finishing up the roof, I did the flooring of the place and I was finished. The beginning of my house was all ready to go and I just started putting my things in the chests. After getting some of my things situated, I decided to start a farm right outside my house so I had like an unlimited supply of food. Day 17, I planted my first seedlings. After getting the seeds into the ground, I decided I wanted to make a basement and a little mine right under our house. Day 19 rolled around and I wanted to hop back in the basement and get to work. I mined until my pickaxe broke. I hopped out of my house, ate my pork chop, and was on the way to explore. I remember during day 10 that we found this super cool terrain, cliff, dangerous area that I really wanted to explore. So I made it my mission to head down into the deep. In this adventure, I did a little mining, a little fighting, a little more fighting, and you're going to see in a second, I got myself into some serious danger. These two skeletons were absolutely wrecking me, and I was getting really nervous. My health came down to 2 hearts. After I took care of that, I found a diamond and started to get out of this cave because I was terrified. On day 23, I started to come a little bit closer to the surface because I was all out of food and I only had 2 hearts. I finally caught a glimpse of the sun through a crack in the sea and swam with speed. Once I got to land, I went back home, ate up, put my ores in the furnaces, picked some crops, and planted some crops. Then threw some gold and potatoes in the ovens. I put away my useless copper and woke up in day 24, where I would head down to my mine. I mined into day 25 where I ran into a cave covered in obsidian, so I wanted to check it out. I got down safely with some water, flexed on a skelly, stole some gold, didn't forget about the iron, found some lava, more iron, ran around, tried water parkour, found a creeper, ran away, and found this cool boss arena looking thing where I found diamonds and a skelly spider. After that crazy adventure, I headed home where I emptied out my ovens. On day 29, I found myself mining again, but not alone. Gorge tagged along and we made it to the same cave that I was at earlier, but we wanted to explore a bit deeper. I went a bit too deep, too fast, and should have died. After realizing I'm not good at this game, I asked Gorge why I couldn't find any diamonds, and he kindly reminded me that I wasn't playing Minecraft 1.12. After contemplating my entire life, I discovered this underground cave river thing where I thought I was gonna die again. After having almost 3 heart attacks in one Minecraft day, I decided to head home where I saw Abby making an interesting portal. So we made the changes, lit that baby up, and decided this adventure would be for another day. So I tended to my gardens, picked everything, replanted everything, checked my ovens, and woke up at day 32 where I made my first special bow. This was the beginning of my journey of becoming a bow master. So I made an anvil, I placed it, made some new tools, got my ingots from the furnaces, and put it in my loot chest. I grabbed some seeds and headed outside to plant them because I needed a lot of dark wood if I was going to make this mansion. After doing that, I took my bow and headed into the Nether. Once I reached the Nether, the first thing I did was cross-map a skeleton, TP to a magma slime, mine some blocks, almost die, and finally met up with Gorge again. This is when I heard the first gasp. But it didn't bother me, so I carried on. I mined some glowstones, high-fived the skeleton, deactivated turret mode, and shoot. So this gas was absolutely destroying me. I dodged a few bullets, tried to regain my ground, and then tried deflecting them back. Which didn't exactly work out as planned. So I took out my bow and got the job done. On day 35, we ran into some zombie piglins, made some trouble, and then we ran into some blaze spawners. Me and Gorge really wanted blaze rods, but were taking heavy fire from the 2 blaze spawners that we could see across the map. While these blazes were shooting at us, we also had zombie pigmen still aggro on us, so we had to be extremely careful. After taking out some of these blaze spawners, I realized my health was getting way too low, so I had to dip. In the middle of me running, I ran into this wither skeleton and got cross-mapped by a crazy blaze snipe. So I built up a wall, ate some food, and got my health back up, because I just realized my armor was beginning to break. On our way back, we fought some pigmen, encountered a ghast, parkoured, was being followed, and then we began to mine to get back to the place we started. Once we came close to where we began our journey, we found this ghast that started shooting at us. We found a bunch of skeletons, and we cross-mapped them. Gorge almost fell and died, and we finally made it home at the end of day 37. Once home, I ate up, put my new resources away, picked some of my crops, made some new armor. On day 38, I found myself picking sugarcane to make bookshelves for an enchanting room. But I was missing one thing: leather. I hadn't seen a single cow near my house the entire time on the server, so this was going to be a difficult task. I decided to bring some cows back home with me so that I could breed them and have an unlimited supply of leather for my enchanting room. But this task would fare more difficult than I first expected. First, I had to get seeds to grow wheat so that the cows would actually follow me. Then I tried having the cows follow me through the water, but realized that was taking way too long. So I started to make a bridge, and that worked. I brought the 2 cows across the bridge safely, and then ran into a creeper, killing one of them. So I wasn't going to take my chances again, so I took out my bow and took care of the second creeper I found. I ran into 2 other cows, brought them along, tried the same bridge idea, and this failed dramatically. Then I found this zombie throwing a trident at me, and we finally reached it home. I had like 5 cows I brought, so I tried to put them in this pen, which also didn't work. Once I got them in the pen, I started breeding them. Once I got my first book, I made my first enchantment table, picked some crops, made a little shed, decorated it, planted crops throughout the night into day 41. Day 42, I decided to expand my base, so I dug out a large area so that I could have multiple pens of animals. On day 43, I decided to expand my base even more. And through day 44, I kept going. Day 45, I was still going, and I tended to my crops a little bit. I bred some more of my cows, said what's up to Gorge, and started the first slaughter. I made some books and brought that down to my enchantment room. On day 46, me and Gorge decided that we were going to find our first village. We ran into a pillage raid. We were pretty surprised the pillagers actually had more firepower than we thought, but me and Gorge went on top of a house and sniped from above, so they really didn't stand a chance. Throughout our adventure, we also found this baby turtle, which was absolutely adorable, but we kept on going forth, through swimming, through multiple biomes, traveling, finding this broken portal. I found my first iron bow and a small lava pit, but don't worry guys, I was careful, and that didn't work. Me and Gorge also ran into this crazy ravine that led down into a deep cave, and we wanted to explore it. Once we got down, Gorge started using his brim steel pickaxe, and we took some incoming fire from a skeleton, who jumped to his death. We also ran into a mine shaft where we encountered some lava, a poison spider spawner, and decided to head out. On our way out, we found this super cool floating natural pool, but we might do that on the 200-day video. Let me know in the comments, guys, if you guys would like that. So we set sail to come back home. On our way home, we found another broken portal, looted it, and we found a leather bow, but we didn't really think that would be very useful, so we left it there. After saying bye to the turtles, I found another village on my way back home and looted it clean. I made it back home on day 50, where I had a lot more leather to make these books, so I stacked some more bookshelves around my enchantment table and woke up for day 51. I then took my pickaxe and my lapis and put it into my enchantment table to see if I was close to 30 levels. I just wanted to know how many more bookshelves I had to make. From some of the loot that we got from the villages, I got a saddle, and I really wanted a horse so I could travel a lot quicker when leaving the home. So this horse was my brand new buddy. Then I got kicked for flying on my server, so I killed my horse. I got a brand new horsey, and we were off to the races. I found a pillager tower and raided them as a revenge play. This worked out well with my horsey and my bow, and we cleaned house. I then looted the pillager house to see what was here, made it to the top floor, and got pretty much nothing. I was pretty disappointed with the loot, but I took it anyway because screw those guys, they raided me. And then I checked up on my horsey and saw that there was one more left, and he was going to try to kill my horse. So I sprinted back downstairs with some crazy speed, guys, hopped on my horse, and ran away. On day 54 of my adventure with my horsey, I found another village which I wanted to raid. I ran into a couple cows, stole their leather, and found my first smithy. After taking the bookshelves, I came back home with my horse, ate some food, and headed back down to my basement. So I placed some more bookshelves, and voila, I was there. I had 30 levels on my enchantment room, so I was happy. I then did my first enchant on my golden bow, and got Unbreaking 3. I wasn't too happy about that, so I grabbed my pickaxe and threw it in there and got Efficiency, Fortune, and Unbreaking, which was an absolute epic set of enchants. I also enchanted another pickaxe and got Silk Touch on that one. So I brought this baby out on a fresh mining trip. In the middle of my mine, I found myself trapped with an Enderman, which absolutely did not go well. And got away somehow. I literally couldn't believe it. I made it out of the cave, found myself back home after that super scary moment. I put the iron in the ovens, along with some potatoes, and called it a night. On day 55, I was hungry. Not for food, for diamonds. So I took my Lamborghini of a pickaxe for a spin and started mining. I got my first 8 diamonds, then came on to 34, and then a whopping 55. I then made it out feeling like Jeff Bezos and made a full set of drippy diamond armor and retired my old set. I then smelted my ores, made my iron ingots into blocks to save room, I know, rich people problems, and then noticed that Gorge had some leftover brimsteel ingots I contemplated stealing. After being flexed on by Gorge, I enchanted my first sword with enchantments I felt iffy about. Then I went to bed and woke up for day 60 to enchant my first diamond bow and start a second farm. On day 61, I pretty much finished the farm and planted some crop. Then I enchanted my diamond chestplate to Prot 4, which made me really happy. On day 62, I felt the sheep pen was getting near capacity and forgot how good mutton tasted. So I made some. I also enchanted some of the bows I had just to reset the trash enchantments that the enchantment table was giving me, and then I got some of that XP back. On day 62, I decorated my land a bit more to mine a bunch of deep slate. During this deep slate digging display, I snatched a few more diamonds, then headed to the surface to continue upgrading my land. Once I decorated the basement and some of my walkway, I began a massive construction process using the deep slate that I had gotten from my mine shaft. I continued on building the foundation of the mansion and even ran out of deep slate, making me go mining again. After getting another truckload of deep slate, I headed upstairs and headed to bed. I spent day 68 doing mostly house chores like cleaning the ovens, organizing the chests, feeding the sheep, shooting a sheep, and tending to the garden. Day 69 came around the corner and hit like a ton of bricks, but in a good way. I enchanted my bow to power 4 and flame, which I was really excited about. And the reason I ditched the diamond bow was because the golden one had infinity by default. On day 70, I finished the foundation of the mansion and took my trusty stallion to help me grab some sand to make glass. After the glass was added to the mansion, I punched out some windows, added another floor, and then added more glass. I started day 74 with lots of gardening work, and even made a mini shed for all the food that the farm was yielding. I then headed into the mine for even more deep slate. I kept building throughout the days, then killing an enderman that thought he was sick. The cycle continued, and I needed more deep slate, so you know where I went. After the millionth time mining, I had gotten a good amount of loot and decided to make a vault room to store all my treasures. After the vault was complete, I got back to it and continued building and building and building, and then guess what? I was finally finished on day 94. I had built the mansion of my dreams. I then made some final touches, added some more detail, and threw together a quick kitchen, but needed clay to make a proper stove, so then I placed that, and bam, IKEA kitchen achieved. And this is how I would close out my first 100 days as a master archer. If you'd want to see how I end up with the set of Blaze Brimsteel armor and tools, then let me know in the comments below.